And as we shift our conversation over to immigration, the same thing rings true. The doublespeak coming from the left right now, who after Biden was busing those coming into the country illegally and had been for a long, long time all around the country, the gall to go and point the finger at Abbott or DeSantis for going and doing the same thing because it ended up making them look bad. The hypocrisy is just on full display for everybody to see.
Record border numbers, 2 million crossings this year. Venezuela emptying its prisons as we speak, sending them to America. And I'll share a personal story. It was about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I came out of McAllen, Texas, after having been to the border. I was on I believe it was an American Airlines commercial flight. About half the seats were taken by people in their normal travels around the country. The other half of the seats, so it's about 100 people, were filled with migrants that they were sending around America. So think about the Martha's Vineyard people. They're all upset because they had 50 migrants on this plane that was sent by Governor DeSantis up to visit them to show this is what's happening to America. There were twice as many people on the single flight I took out of McAllen, Texas, and there was nothing said about that.
Well, and you compare what's happening along our southern border now to the way it was under Trump, and it's night and day. The moment that Biden got into office, and he even said as much on during the debates. He said openly, I want a surge. I want people to come in. And this is a long-term tactic. I firmly believe on the left to get as many people into the country here from our porous border and eventually at some point in time give them the ability to go and vote. They can't run on the merits of their own issues, but what they can do is potentially go and create a brand new voter base on a long enough timeline. And that's just one of the reasons why we're seeing this horrible crisis taking place along our southern border right now.
Every state's a border state, including Minnesota and Wisconsin. For people that scoff at you, John, and say, no, they don't want them to be able to vote. This is just to get more labor to be able to have people to do the work in America. All you got to do is look at New York City this year. They passed a resolution that said you get to vote in local elections. That is where they're headed. But it's a disaster of epic proportions. And all you got to do is look at the fentanyl deaths that are right in our backyard.
Yeah.
They've doubled here in America. I mean, set aside all the national security problems, the human trafficking, where we had 53 migrants that were fried to death in the back of a trailer as a result of the biggest human trafficking enterprise that the American government is complicit in as a result of the Biden administration, perhaps in the history of the world. Set all that aside and you've still got fentanyl. All you got to do is talk to your local sheriff and they'll tell you about the young people that are being killed via fentanyl poisonings. And by the way, no one should describe them as overdoses. These are poisonings. This is one of the most it is the most dangerous illicit drug that we've seen in America, and they're lacing everything with it. Hey, you're a heroin user, a marijuana user, whatever. That's what you're going to get in your marijuana sometime. Some of these pain-killing drugs, Percocet, and various Adderall, things like that, we're seeing people get fentanyl rather than getting those pills, and it is killing young Americans in record numbers.
And it's only going to get worse unless we see some wholesale changes coming up in these midterm elections, because we have to start changing some of these policies in order to turn the ship around at this point. Because if it doesn't happen now, we're in deep trouble if we don't get that change coming up in November.
I was very heartened to see last night the minority leader Kevin McCarthy said in regards to we have to pass a continuing resolution in regards to keep the government funded after September 30th, the end of the fiscal year. He said we need to secure the border in order to pass this budget, and it's about time. And I give Leader McCarthy credit for this, drawing the line in the sand and saying, we're going to do something about this. And if people put Republicans in charge after this election, and you got a couple seats that can help us put us in charge right there in suburban Twin Cities, we will deal with this border issue, and we will make it a top, if not the top priority.